Hey, it's me, Hero. Today, we're gonna talk about Scratch. So Scratch is a coding system, but for kids. It basically uses blocks for coding. It's like a Lua coding system without the pain of typing so much. So let's go over the blocks, starting with the motion blocks. Motion blocks make the thing you want to move. But it's not just moving, it's also rotating, gliding, and pointing. The X and Y coordinates correlate to the horizontal lines and vertical lines. Turning correlates to the degrees where it is pointing. For example, if it is set to 45 degrees, it will obviously point 45 degrees. Now let's get to the looks blocks. Looks blocks make your sprite talk, have a different tint, or change its own appearance entirely. It can depend on what you want it to look like, how big you want it to be, or what layer it should be in. You can also hide it, or show it, if you want it seen or not. Now let's move on to the sound blocks. Sound blocks are very important when it comes to stuff like Scratch. You can change volume, pitch, or even loop it. So whenever your Scratch project feels too lonely, just remember the sound blocks. They can be used for background music, ambience, sound effects, sound cues, and more. Now let's move on to the event blocks. Event blocks are also an important staple to Scratch. If you want to press E for something to happen, that something happens. If you want something to move when pressing a key, it moves when you press it. Not only you can bind keys for something to happen, it also happens when it's clicked, or when it records a message, or when the backdrop changes. Now let's move on to the control blocks. Control blocks can be used for several things. For example, it can be used for cloning, repeating, wait for a desired amount of seconds, or make it go on forever. You can also delete clones, stop something or everything, and much more. Now let's move on to the sensing blocks. Sensing blocks are also one of the most important staples in Scratch. For example, if it's touching the color red, it will turn red, but if it touches the color blue, it turns yellow, which doesn't make any sense, but it's funny anyways. Now let's move on to the operator blocks. Operator blocks are blocks that use math to calculate things or anything that contains a letter in a word. These range from randomness, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, greater than, lesser than, equal, or anything related to math in particular. Now let's move on to the variable blocks.
We are almost at the end, so when we're done we can say our farewells.
Variable blocks are variables that show up on your screen. For example, if you want a timer that explodes on 0, you can make a timer variable that does just that. Or if you want a slider that changes the color of a sprite, it does just that too. Now it's time for me to end this video, but first, we need some credits first.
Hello, I'm Sam, and I'm here to credit people for the stuff they made. Credits to Hackett and Geek and Church for the music they made. The Scratch Wi-Fi for the information about the blocks. And you, thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe if you liked it. Thanks.